Hi, I'm Doug DeBrielle. I'm a mental health counselor, coach, and fellow human. Fatigue. Not just physical fatigue. I'm talking about the all of it. Emotional, cognitive, spiritual. That sort of system fatigue is what I'm talking about. The drain that's connected to all of the feels associated with being human and being frayed from the inside out. It's so real. And so many of us, myself included, are wearing it at this moment like it's a lead jacket. It's heavy. In the midst of a global health crisis, COVID-19, on the heels of a divisive and contentious election, as we go deeper into an economic recession, with the nation experiencing intense social unrest, it's safe to say there's a lot of stuff going on around us. And that's before we begin to name all the stuff that you or I have going on in our everyday lives, just to keep it moving forward. So it's time to hit pause. And I'd like to have a dialogue. I'd like to talk about all the things that are wearing each one of us down right now. And take a look back at, excuse my language, the shit that this year has thrown at us. And it might be harder than you think to do this inventory. So to start, it's generally easiest to note all the stuff that's right there on your to-do list, all the stuff you feel like you have to resolve that's right on your explicit conscious awareness, from the little stuff that's there to the big stuff that's there. For example, in my life, in the bucket of everyday life tasks, it is a juggle and a struggle to manage childcare, household chores, and some of you know from a recent video that I made that yes, I sometimes just go buy new underwear when the laundry's too big and overwhelming to me. Nonetheless, I'm also trying to keep my business afloat and provide the best care that I can possibly give to my clients in the face of so much uncertainty of when school might close due to COVID again, or we might have to isolate. And then in the bucket of big things, in my life, my heart's aching. My brain is wrestling to understand a senseless act of violence that unfortunately and painfully took a loved one this year. I don't know how to fix that one, and it weighs on me. And I know that in these little examples that I've just shared, they're the tip of the iceberg, and I'm not the only one feeling the impact of these weights on my life. Additionally, right there alongside those stressors that are right in the front of our minds, there are also stressors that are kind of hidden. They're implicit. They're the things that seem perhaps invisible to us because they're not necessarily concrete or tangible or things we can do anything about. Fear and uncertainty, to me, are kind of the biggest culprits. And I call these implicit stressors because they're often very present, but lingering in the background of our mind, like a white noise machine in a doctor's office. You go in, there's a noise machine maybe. Well, let's say, outside the therapist's office for sure. And you may not even notice it's there at first. But when you leave that space and go into a quiet space, the silence suddenly fills your awareness and you begin to realize that that sound machine is noise. And it's intrusive and it's super annoying and stressful. All around us, there's a great deal of noise from every angle. For example, these days I find it almost surreal to be listening to the news, trying to get connected with what's going on in the world, and it's stressful. And then I look out my window and I see peace and quiet in my backyard. I think, what a crazy juxtaposition. How can it be so safe and calm and peaceful in the world outside my front door? Yet, the information I'm taking in about other ongoings in the world, it's hard to hear and listen to sometimes. It's confusing. And it generates stress. So, the first step to getting to the other side of fatigue is to do this inventory taking. Before we can talk about what it is that we're dealing with or how to deal with it, we must make space to name what's weighing on us. Make it real. Then, take a step back and ask yourself, what are the current issues going on around me? And to what degree are they impacting me? In other words, what's there that I'm not quite aware of fully? And if you need some help with that, just tune into the news, because you may suddenly recognize some themes that are bringing all sorts of stress up that you didn't maybe want to be aware of. Sorry. But it's real. Those stressors are there and they weigh on us. So I have an invitation and an ask. I invite you to briefly share one of your stressors in the comment section below, or send me a message privately, private message, text, and I'll post an anonymous digest version of what is shared, in addition to whatever you feel comfortable sharing in your comments. And I really do encourage you to be brief. My hope is to encourage the practice of reflection, naming, and sharing with others. When we connect openly and we share our vulnerabilities, we're more likely to feel validated and have our concerns normalized. And that, in so many ways, makes it better to know that we're not the outlier. And I guarantee that what you feel right now is being felt by others. And it's one thing to say, I know I'm not alone, right? To be heady about it. It's another thing to experience being connected. And that's the absence of being alone. So when you read what other people are going through and you can relate to it, you're probably going to feel a little bit better knowing that you're not the only one struggling with what you're struggling with. So please stay tuned as I'll report back. And my ask is that you come back to this conversation or subscribe. As I sat down to think about this topic of what am I carrying, what fatigues me, I realized I can't come up with a complete list. It has to be co-created. I can't possibly name all the stuff that's weighing on you. And next up, in this mini-series on fatigue, I'm going to talk about the signs and symptoms. And again, I'm going to invite your participation. I hope you'll join. Be well.